Random House Audio presents The Murder of Jim Fisk for the Love of Josie Mansfield, A Tragedy of the Gilded Age, by H.W. Brands. Read for you by Richard McGonagle. H.W. Brands, American Portraits. The big stories of history unfold over decades and touch millions of lives. Telling them can require books of several hundred pages. But history has other stories, smaller tales that center on individual men and women at particular moments that can peculiarly illuminate history's grand sweep. These smaller stories are the subject of American Portraits, tightly written, vividly rendered accounts of lost or forgotten lives and crucial historical moments. Chapter 1. A gray blanket cloaks the trees of Montparnasse on a late autumn morning. Smoke from the coal fires that heat the homes and shops along the narrow streets swirls upward to join the fog that congeals intermittently into drizzle. This part of Paris hides the signs of the Great Depression better than the blighted industrial districts. But the tattered storefronts, the shabby dress of men with nowhere to go, and the age of the few cars that ply the streets betray a community struggling to keep its soul together. An old, oddly configured vehicle lumbers slowly along the cobbles. The dispirited pedestrians pay it no mind, nor do they heed the two women and one man who walk behind it. The women appear to be locals. The shawls around their shoulders and the scarves on their heads could have been taken from the woman selling apples on one of the corners they pass, or from the grandmother dividing a thin baguette among her 4 little ones. Or could she be their mother? Hard times play evil tricks on youth and beauty. The man must be a foreigner. He dresses like an Englishman, one whom the Depression seems to have spared. His heavy wool coat and felt hat shield him from the damp. The coat's collar and the hat's brim hide his face from those around him. He might be an American. He walks more assertively than the average Englishman. He probably walked still more assertively when he was younger, although how many years have passed since that sprightly era is impossible to say. The two women speak quietly to each other. Neither addresses the man, nor he them. The vehicle, whether it is a car or a truck, is as much a puzzle as most else about this small procession, slows almost to a stop, then turns onto the leaf-strewn lane of the cemetery that these days forms a principal raison d'etre of the neighborhood. It moves tentatively along the track, picking its way among the gravestones and mausoleums beneath the connecting branches of trees left over from when the farm on this site began accepting plantings that didn't sprout, not in this existence. The driver finally locates what he has been looking for, and he stops beside a fresh pile of dirt that is gradually turning dark as the drizzle soaks in. 2 men shrouded in long coats suddenly but silently appear, as if from the earth itself. They stand at the rear of the vehicle as the driver lowers the gate. They grasp handles on the sides of the bare wooden box the vehicle contains, and with a nonchalance just shy of disrespect, they hoist it out and set it on the ground between the pile of dirt and the hole from which the dirt has come. They step aside, wordlessly letting the 3 mourners know that this is their last chance to commune with the deceased. One of the women produces from a cloth bag a small cluster of chrysanthemums and places it on the coffin. The man takes a rose from inside his coat and with quiet tenderness lays it beside the other flowers. The 3 step back and gaze down at the wooden box. The drizzle turns to rain. The gravediggers slip short loops of rope inside the handles and lower the coffin into the grave. They pull up the ropes and begin shoveling the dirt back into its hole. The hearse drives away at a faster pace than before. The women walk off together. The man lingers. He looks at the grave, then at the city in the distance, then back at the grave. Finally, he too departs. Chapter 2. Another day, another decade, another funeral. And such a funeral. Lifelong New Yorkers cannot remember larger crowds, even to mark the Union victory in the Civil War. Many of those present today attended the victory celebration, but it is the nature of life in the great city and the strength of the city's appeal to outsiders that a large part of the population has turned over in the 7 years since the Confederate surrender at Appomattox. Today, the newcomers crane to see what the fuss is about. The funeral begins at the Grand Opera House on 23rd Street, where the body has lain for viewing. No one thinks the choice of venue odd, or at least none thinks it odder than that the Opera House is also home to one of America's great railroads, the Erie, of which the deceased was a director, and to which he, as owner of the Opera House, rented office space. The lavish interior of the house, the sweeping grand staircase, the 20-foot mahogany doors embellished with the company initials E.R., the bronze horses pawing the air furiously with their forehoofs, the 2-story mirror with the bust of Shakespeare on top, the sumptuous wall hangings, the carved and gilt columns, the cherubs disporting about the ceiling, the fountains spewing water into the air, has been rendered somewhat more somber for the sad occasion by the addition of black muslin tied up with black and white satin rosettes to cover the cherubs and hide the gilt. The visitors have been gathering since dawn. By 11, when the doors open, they number 10,000. They file slowly in, some entering by the door on the 23rd Street side, the others from 8th Avenue. They approach the rosewood casket with its gold-plated handles. They see the deceased in his uniform as colonel of New York's 9th Regiment of Militia. His cap and sword rest on his chest. His strawberry curls grace his forehead and temples. His face appears composed, albeit understandably pale. To some this seems strange, given the circumstances of the death. Flowers of various kinds, tuberoses, camellias, lilies, cover the lower portion of the body and surround the casket. Their scent fills the gallery. An honor guard of the 9th Regiment stands at attention. First to view the body are the other directors of the Erie Railroad and certain members of the New York Bar and Judiciary. When the general public is let in, several women professionally associated with the opera, of which the deceased was a prominent patron, burst into tears. His barber stops at the head of the casket, and with one hand rearranges the curls, while with the other he twists the tips of the dead man's mustache. As the last of the visitors depart, the funeral service commences. The chaplain of the regiment reads from the Episcopal prayer book. The wife, mother, and sister of the deceased, all veiled and dressed in black, sit quietly for the most part, only now and then airing a sigh or an audible sob. At the end of the reading, each of the women approaches the casket and kisses the dead man. The rank and file of the regiment march slowly past their fallen comrade and commander, paying silent tribute. The casket is closed and covered with an American flag. The honor guard carries the casket to a waiting hearse. The regiment's band, backed by musicians from one of New York's German associations, tolls a dirge. The funeral procession forms up. 100 New York policemen take the lead, followed by the band, which has segued into the Dead March in Saul. A contingent of employees of the Erie Railroad come next, ununiformed except for the black crepe that adorns their arms. The full regiment in parade dress marches in triple file behind the Erie men. The hearse, pulled by 4 caparisoned black horses, rolls at a stately pace. A Negro groomsman guides the colonel's favorite horse, a snorting black charger. The saddle is empty. Reversed boots fill the stirrups. Officers of New York's other regiments trail the stallion. Distinguished civilians in handsome caps
Sample complete. Ready to continue?